Hi guys, so this is going to be a quick video about my recent successes using robotic affirmations and just in regards to money. Okay, so I just want to start with two different points. Okay, the first one is about automatic robotic affirmations, which is something that occurs when you have repeated something over and over and over again to the point where these thoughts, aka affirmations, are just coming up out of nowhere, right? So this is something that happens when you repeat something over and over and over again, right? And this is such a natural thing that just occurs out of nowhere. And who knows how long it takes. I think with each one of these things that I'm going to speak about in this video, it was all different time frames for the affirmation to become sort of automatic. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. In each one of these cases that I'm going to speak about, the affirmations became somewhat automatic, and what I mean by that is when I was in just a random state, like I was just doing something random, I would just without even trying to affirm, the thought would come into my mind. Okay, so that's one point. And then the other point is not taking action holds people back. And this is the one thing I see with people, like friends, family, clients, everything. I've seen people just being afraid to take action because they're afraid of rejection. But you just have to realize that we came down here on this earth to be in an action-based environment. So that's why when you get a nudge, it's your indicator that you want to take an action, right? Or you get an impulse to do something. It's really important that you do act on that when you do get the impulse, without hesitation. And that's why being in this sort of state of equilibrium and balancing your, I've talked about this on my channel, making sure you're emotionally stable is so important. I talked about emotional regulation and calming yourself down and being in a state of like ease and relaxation and just acceptance of, the current state of things, right? And so you just chilled out and you're not obsessing over anything. And that's the excess potential videos that I've talked about as well. So if you don't have excess potential placed on things, you can be relaxed about things, and then you're not as worried about taking action, which I think is a really amazing place to be in. So just don't be afraid to follow your impulses. That's really important. So those are two things. Now let me get started on this on the success story. So the first one was my car. So I drive a stick shift, and I've always driven a stick shift, but sometimes what can happen is the transmission can go out in them, and it's quite expensive when it does. So I had that happen recently and was able to get my transmission entirely fixed for around $1,200, and that is an incredible price. Like, it was meant to be around $7,000, I feel like. And they quoted me at $6,000 to $7,000 at different places, and I was able to get it fixed for $1,200. And it was just through a series of incidents. I kept affirming, no, this is not more than $2,000 to fix, And let's see, my exact affirmation was, it didn't cost more than $2,000 to fix. It wasn't over $2,000 to fix my transmission. And I was telling my sister about it, right, in my imagination. So, and I just literally repeated one sentence, and that was it. And then through a series of events, someone at work came to me and said, hey, I know this guy, right? I know a guy, right? So he knew someone, and I got to meet this person who works on cars, and he was able to do it for me for very, very cheap. If you hear snoring, it's this little girl. She's snoring right now. So anyway, it's not me. Oh, look, she knows when you're talking about her. Anyway, so the second one was I got my rent paid for a whole year. So this is a kind of a really big one, right? So money, this is another thing, like money doesn't have to come from places you expect it, right? Like a lot of people expect it from maybe a bonus at work, or all these places where you expect it, like maybe your parents giving you money or something like that. But really, you've got to expand your mind about where money can come from. So I actually applied for this creative fund, and there was a few requirements which I did meet, which is first of all was really cool that I met the requirements, because there were kind of let's see if I can think of some of them. One was that I paid rent during COVID, right? So all through COVID, I actually did pay rent, and a lot of people did not, right? So that was one of the requirements. The other requirement was your rent was more than $3,000, which mine is. Again, had to take action, right? I mean, don't be afraid to, research and do the things that could lead to you getting what you wanted, or a potential avenue for you to, get money in some way. So I didn't quite even believe it, to be honest. And I think that's an important part of this too. I was sort of sketched out about the whole process. I was like, I don't even know, this doesn't even seem real, right? When I was filling out all the forms, because I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, I've never found anything like that ever in my life, just a fund for creative people that are, starting their own business, have paid rent during COVID. But anyway, if you want to know more information about it, I can tell you the exact fund. I think it's over now. But anyway, I got my rent paid for an entire year, and I had to get my landlord to approve that I actually did pay this amount of rent. It was a whole kind of process. But after I finished the process, I just kept affirming that, my whole entire rent was paid for. And surprisingly, I was approved for it. And they gave me literally a lump sum of money. So it was over $30,000 that I just received from the government. So it's kind of crazy. Like, I didn't even really believe that it was going to be true, right? If I even did make it into the final, whatever it was. And even people around me were like, this is not real. Like, you're falling for something. This has got to be a scam. Not that long ago, I went to the ER. Well, it was like a few years ago, but I had ER bills to pay, and I didn't at that time. I feel like my insurance, either I didn't have it or it lapsed or whatever. But anyway, I ended up going to the ER without insurance, which, as you know, can be really expensive, like extremely expensive, especially if you take an ambulance. All of that it's just, the hospital fees are outrageous. Like, if you've ever looked at the list of what they charge you for, it's like slippers, $2,000. I'm kidding, but I mean, they have crazy charges on there. I remember looking at the list of charges, and my total hospital bill was something like, I think it was $43,000 or something. Because I went a few times. It's an issue or a story for another time why I had to go. But anyway, I remember it was over $40,000, and I found this fund within the hospital that was for people without insurance. That was just it was called like a forgiveness fund, and people, rich people in the area donate to be able to, provide this fund for people who can't pay their bills, hospital bills. And all I did was I filled out a bunch of forms about my incident, what happened, and why I owe the money, and why I can't pay it, or why I don't have the means to pay it. This was a few years ago, and they within a few months they granted me the entire, it was not as if I was paying it off. It was literally just, they obliterated the bills, just completely whitewashed the bills. So I didn't owe anything to the hospital anymore. And that was pretty amazing too. But in that case, I think I was affirming something like, I no longer have hospital bills. Just something so easy that I could remember and repeat, And to be honest, in this last case, I believed fully that it would be taken care of, because I was like, this needs to be taken care of, because it was a case where I could have sued someone as well for the whole thing. So I felt righteous in my ability to have it taken off, right? Taken off my bills or whatever, or just totally, completely whitewashed and have no bills, right? For that case, because I definitely could have sued, and I decided not to, because I don't want to go through the hassle of that. And it felt like bad energy. And I mean, my mom was also encouraging me not to sue, because it just makes you feel bad at the end of the day. I mean, it would have made me feel bad, right? So yeah, I just wanted to be healthy, and that was the main thing. I didn't care about anything else except for being healthy, and then feeling like this would be great if my bills were taken care of, right? And I was very appreciative about, but very in a knowing place about. So anyway, those are my 3 big money success stories that are the most recent that I can think of. If you love this video, thumbs it up. And if you love Neville and transformation and changing your life, stick around. I'd love to have you. Next time, I'm talking about brain health and supplements I take for the brain. So stick around if you love this stuff. Bye, guys.